said it without flinching. Amy, you're too fat. I'm done. 3 years. 1,000 sacrifices. And he reduced her to a number on a scale, then walked out the door like she was nothing. Let me tell you about Amy. Not the Amy who came after. The first Amy. The one who loved too hard and apologized too much and genuinely believed that if she just tried harder, became smaller, took up less space, maybe then she would finally be enough. That Amy deserves to be seen first. She met Kofi at a faculty dinner in their second year at the University of Lagos. She was wearing a yellow dress and laughing at something her friend said when he crossed the room and introduced himself. Confident. Smooth. The kind of man who knew exactly how he looked walking toward you. You have the best laugh I've ever heard, he told her. She gave him her number. The first year was beautiful. He called every night, showed up at her hostel with chin and bad excuses just to see her face, told her she was brilliant, told her she was stunning. She believed every word, because why wouldn't she? He said them like he meant them. But love that comes with conditions always shows its bill eventually. The comments started small. So small, she almost missed them. Amy, maybe we should start walking to lectures. Exercise is good for us. She laughed, said okay, told Nneka he was just health conscious. Nneka gave her a look she didn't understand yet. By their second year together, back in Lagos, the comments had grown teeth. At a work party in Victoria Island, Kofi leaned close and whispered, Amy, can you order a salad instead? People are looking. She set down her menu. Her appetite disappeared. Not for food, for love. She tried every diet Lagos had ever heard of. The cabbage soup that made her stomach cramp at her desk, the detox tea that kept her running to the bathroom every hour, the gym membership she paid 45,000 naira for and used exactly 4 times. Every Monday was a fresh start. Every Sunday night was quiet shame. Kofi's patience wore the way Harmattan wears leather slowly, then completely. The final night, they had been at his colleague's birthday in Lekki. She felt his friend's eyes on her all evening, saw the way Kofi laughed too loudly at jokes she wasn't meant to hear. On the drive home, he was silent. That silence had its own weight, heavier than anything she carried on her body. Inside the flat, he turned to face her. Amy, I can't do this anymore. Her stomach dropped. Do what? This. Us. He looked somewhere past her shoulder. Coward. You're a good person, but I need a woman I'm proud to walk beside. You understand? Kofi, please. You're too fat, Amy. Finally, he looked at her. I'm sorry. I'm done. The words didn't feel like words. They felt like hands around her throat. I'll change. She heard her own voice break. I'll go to the gym every single day. Please, just don't leave me like this. I've waited 3 years, Amy. He picked up his keys. I'm tired of waiting. The door closed. She stood in the living room in her party dress, alone. The fabric suddenly felt like a costume for a person she was no longer sure existed. Nneka arrived within the hour. Nobody called her. She just knew the way real friends always know. She found Amy on the floor and sat down beside her without a single word. 2 weeks later, Amy made the mistake of opening Instagram. Kofi's page, new pictures. A woman named BC, slim, glowing, pressed against his side, while he smiled the smile Amy had spent 3 years trying to earn. He looked free. Amy closed the app, then opened it again, then threw her phone across the room. Nneka picked it up from the floor, looked at the screen, looked at Amy. Don't, Amy whispered. Please don't say anything. So Nneka said nothing, just held her. But something cracked open in Amy's chest that night. Something that would take months to understand. It felt like destruction. Later, she would realize it was actually the beginning. That image of Kofi and BC broke something in Amy, but it also woke something up. Here is the thing nobody tells you about heartbreak. It doesn't just hurt your heart. It gets into everything. Your appetite, your sleep, your ability to sit in a meeting and pretend you are a functioning human being. It becomes the water you swim in. Cold, dark, exhausting. Amy stopped eating properly the week after Kofi left. Not a diet, not discipline, just grief. Food lost its taste. Nneka would cook jollof rice, fried plantain, all of Amy's favorites, and Amy would sit in front of the plate and move things around with her fork until the food went cold. Her body, the body Kofi said was the problem, was now doing what he always wanted, and it had never felt worse. She lost her job in the second month. Not dramatically, no big confrontation, just a slow fade, missed deadlines, blank stares and meetings, a mind that refused to stay in any room she put it in. Her manager called her in on a Thursday morning. "Amy, we have to let you go." She nodded like she already knew, walked to her car, sat in the heat of a Lagos afternoon for 2 full hours without turning on the engine. She stopped going out entirely. Curtains closed. Phone on, silent. The same oversized hoodie every day until it stopped smelling like detergent and started smelling like grief. Lagos raged outside her window generators. Okada horns, neighbors quarreling, the city completely unbothered, while Amy lay in bed and wondered how a person could feel so heavy and so empty at the same time. Nneka came every other day, brought food, sat beside her, played Nigerian movies at low volume without asking Amy to watch. One evening, she turned to Amy with something raw in her eyes. "Amy, I'm scared for you." Amy stared at the ceiling. "You hear me? He is not worth this. Not one single tear. Not one more day of this." Amy turned to face the wall. 3 months disappeared like that, heavy and gray and mostly horizontal. Then came an ordinary Tuesday morning. Nothing special announced it. No dramatic music, no sign from God, no intervention. Amy just walked to the bathroom to wash her face, and she looked in the mirror. Not a glance. A long, unflinching look at the woman standing there. She saw someone who had twisted herself into impossible shapes, trying to fit inside someone else's idea of beautiful. She saw someone who had swallowed her own hunger literally, and otherwise trying to earn love from a man who had already decided she wasn't worth the effort. She stood there for a long time. Then something moved inside her. Quiet, certain, unmistakable. Like a final decision settling into bone. I am not doing this for him. I am doing this for me. Not to get Kofi back. Not for revenge. Not for his regret. For herself. To reclaim the woman who existed before she started apologizing for her own body. She called a gym in Surulere that afternoon. Her voice barely shook. The first morning, she sat in her car in the gym car park for 11 minutes before she could make herself go inside. She was convinced everyone would stare. Some did. She walked in anyway. Her trainer, Coach Sola, small woman, iron spirit, looked Amy up and down and said, "We start where we are, not where we wish we were." Amy cried in the car afterwards, but she came back the next morning, and the morning after that. Month 1, brutal. Every muscle screamed. The alarm at 5 felt like cruelty. There were mornings she sat on the edge of her bed and bargained with herself, just to put on her sneakers. Some days she cried on the treadmill, quietly, facing forward so nobody could see, but she didn't stop. Month 6, her clothes began to fit differently. She noticed herself standing straighter, taking up space without apologizing for it. Month 12. She looked in that bathroom mirror again. Same mirror, different woman, not because she had disappeared, but because she had finally, fully arrived. New job at a marketing firm in Acacia. New colleagues who laughed loudly and ate without guilt and never once made her feel like a problem. New confidence, not borrowed, not performed, but genuinely hers. Year 2. 30 kilograms released. Not just from her body, from the part of her spirit that had been carrying Kofi's voice for far too long. She didn't just lose weight, she found herself. One Friday evening, her work colleagues pulled her to a restaurant in Acacia. Good food, loud music, the kind of place that felt like celebration just by existing. Amy was mid-laugh, head thrown back, completely unguarded, when her friend Chisom grabbed her arm. "Amy, that man over there." Chisom's voice dropped. "He has not taken his eyes off you." Amy turned. And the world went very quiet, very fast. Kofi was sitting 3 tables away, and he was staring at her like he'd seen a ghost. For a moment, Amy just looked at him. Same Kofi, dressed well, as always. Sitting with 2 men she didn't recognize, a drink in front of him, looking like a man who had never lost a night's sleep over anything. Except right now, he wasn't looking at his drink. He was looking at her. And the expression on his face, she had never seen it before. Not once in 3 years. It was the look of a man who had thrown something precious into the ocean and was now standing on the shore watching it wash up glittering on someone else's beach. Her heart did something complicated. Let's be honest about that. Old feelings don't die clean. They linger in the body like muscle memory. For a fraction of a second, something in her chest remembered what it felt like to love him, remembered his laugh, remembered the chin-chin and the phone calls, and the man he was before the cruelty became routine. She turned back to her food, but 60 seconds later, the chair scraped. Footsteps crossed the restaurant, and his voice came from right behind her shoulder. "Amy?" She took one breath, then she looked up. "Hi, Kofi." He looked like a man trying to solve an equation that kept changing. His eyes moved over her face, her posture, her whole presence, the way she sat, easy and open, laughing with people who genuinely enjoyed her company. "Is that really you?" he said. Like she was a miracle, like he deserved to be amazed. "Last time I checked. You look..." He shook his head slowly. "Amy, you look incredible." "Thank you," she said, the kind of thank you that gives nothing back. "Can we talk?" He glanced at her colleagues. Chisom was not even pretending not to stare. "Please, just 5 minutes, outside." Amy considered him, not with longing, with curiosity. She wanted to hear this. She wanted to know what this man sounded like when he came back. 5 minutes, she said. They stepped outside. Lagos evening wrapped around them, generator hum from somewhere. The smell of suya from a cart across the road. Motorbikes threading through traffic that never really stopped. Kofi faced her. "Amy, I made a mistake." His voice was different, quieter, a real one. "I've thought about you so many times, and now seeing you standing there looking like..." He exhaled. "You're everything I wanted. You're exactly what I wanted. Can we try again, please?" And here is where it gets interesting. Because part of Amy, the old part, the part that had worn waist trainers and ordered salads she didn't want, and rehearsed apologies for a body that owed nobody an apology, that part felt the pull. Vindication. He sees it now. He finally sees it. But the new Amy was already asking a quieter, sharper question. Why didn't he see it before? "If you loved me," she said, "why did you only come back when I lost weight?" His mouth opened, then closed. She kept going. Calm. The kind of calm that cost 2 years to build. "Let me ask you something, Kofi. If I gain it back tomorrow, pregnancy, stress, illness, just life happening to my body the way life does, will you stay?" The silence that followed lasted 4 seconds. 4 seconds that said everything 3 years had tried to hide. She looked at him, really looked, saw the shallowness that had always been there, dressed up in charm and good shoes, saw a man who had never loved her, had loved an idea of her, a smaller, more convenient version that fit better in his curated life. "I always loved." Her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Toby. Something warm moved through her chest. She looked at Kofi one last time. "Excuse me," she said, and answered the call. Amy had a choice. The man who left her at her lowest, or the man who found her at her rising. "Hey, beautiful." Toby's voice came through the phone like something steady, unhurried. The voice of a man who had never once made her feel like a burden. "Still at dinner? I can come pick you up." She turned slightly away from Kofi. Not to be rude, because this conversation deserved her full attention. "Yes, please." The smile on her face was not performed. It came from somewhere deep and unguarded. "I'll be outside." She hung up. Behind her, Kofi's voice was tight. "Who was that?" She faced him. "Someone who has been in my life for 3 months and shown me more respect than you did in 3 years. She watched his expression move through several things at once. Shock, confusion, something that looked almost like grief. "You're seeing someone?" "I am." She said it simply. No triumph in her voice, no cruelty. Just fact. "And he is wonderful. Let me tell you how Amy met Toby. 4 months ago. A Tuesday morning at the gym in Surulere. That same gym where she had cried in the car park on her first day. Amy was on her 4th set of dumbbell rows, arms shaking, jaw locked, refusing to give up. A man at the station beside her, broad across the shoulders, clearly on his own journey, gray shirt damp with honest work, watched her struggle with the weight. He didn't rush over, didn't make a performance of it. He simply said, "Breathe out on the lift. Your body will thank you." She tried it. He was right. It helped. They talked for 8 minutes after their sessions. He made her laugh twice. His name was Toby. He worked in tech. He had warm eyes and a way of listening that made you feel like the most interesting person in the room. Not once did he look at her body with that measuring, disappointed gaze she had spent 3 years trying to avoid. 3 weeks later, standing by the gym exit, he said, "I think you're brilliant and genuinely beautiful. Can I take you to dinner?" Fear is a trained response. When someone has broken you a certain way, you flinch at kindness, mistake warmth for a trap. Amy almost said no. Her mouth was already forming the excuse. But something made her stop. Something new. The voice that had started speaking up in her life, quiet but firm. "You deserve to try." She said yes. Toby showed up to dinner 8 minutes early. Not fashionably late early, because he wanted her to know she was worth the effort. He remembered things she mentioned once, in passing. Her favorite color, the name of her childhood dog, that she hated, cold jollof rice, with a passion that was almost spiritual. When she eventually told him about Kofi, about the salads and the whispered cruelties and the night on the floor, Toby didn't perform outrage, didn't make it about himself. He just held her hand across the table and said quietly, "That man looked at a diamond and complained about the weight." Back on the pavement in Acacia, Kofi was unraveling. "Amy, please, we have history. What we shared was real. You can't just—" "What we shared," she said, "taught me exactly what I don't want. No raised voice, no shaking hands." She was so calm it was almost frightening. "You whispered at me to order salads in public, Kofi. You were ashamed to stand beside me. I cried myself to sleep for months because of you. I lost my job because of you. I lost myself because of you. People change, Amy." "Have you?" She tilted her head. "Or do you just like what you see now?" He had no answer. Headlights swept around the corner. Toby's car pulled up to the curb. He stepped out unhurried, easy, the kind of man who had nothing to prove. He walked straight to Amy, took her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Then he looked at Kofi once, not with aggression, just clear-eyed recognition. "Everything okay here?" Amy laced her fingers through his. "Everything is perfect." They walked to the car together. Kofi stood on the pavement, watching the woman he had discarded choose herself, out loud in front of him. Inside the car, Toby glanced over as they pulled into traffic. Lagos lights blurred past the windows. Who was that? Amy looked straight ahead. "Someone from my past," she said. She settled back into her seat, "where I'm never going back." But the story doesn't end there, because Kofi's life had a lesson left to teach. 6 months later, Amy's alarm went off at 5 in the morning. She didn't groan, didn't negotiate, didn't lie there bargaining with herself the way she used to. She just reached over, silenced it, and sat up. Through the bedroom door, she could already hear movement in the kitchen. The quiet click of the kettle, the smell of ginger tea beginning to breathe into the flat. Toby appeared in the doorway, hair rough, eyes still half asleep, holding 2 cups. He handed her one without a word. This was their life now. Tuesdays and Thursdays, they trained together at the gym, not because they had to, but because showing up for their bodies had quietly become one of the ways they showed up for each other. Rest days, they cooked properly. Nneka's mother's egusi recipe on Sundays. Grilled fish on weekdays. Real food, made with care. Eaten without guilt and without anyone monitoring anyone else's plate. They talked about everything. Career fears, family wounds, childhood memories that still showed up uninvited. The kind of conversations that only happen between people who have decided to be completely safe for each other. In April, Amy was promoted, head of brand communications, her own office with her name on the door. A team of 6 who respected her, brought her problems, celebrated when she solved them. She sent Nneka a voice note the day it happened. 4 minutes and 17 seconds of mostly screaming and crying, and Nneka screaming back from the other end. She also started something quietly, almost accidentally. An Instagram page. Real Amy Rises. No filter on the hard days. No pretending the journey had been straight or simple or painless. Just Amy, talking honestly about body image, self-worth, toxic love, and the long, unglamorous work of choosing yourself when the world keeps telling you that you are not enough. Women found it. Then more women found it. Then the comments started coming in from Abuja, from Accra, from London and Atlanta, and places she had never been, women writing the same sentence in different words. This is my story too. Across Lagos, Kofi was learning something. BC had gained weight. Not dramatically, not even noticeably to most people. Just life weight, the kind that comes from stress, from a difficult season at work, from caring for a sick parent, from being a human body that responds to the world it lives in, normal, natural, unremarkable. Kofi did not see it that way. Babe, you need to watch what you're eating. BC, I'm just saying you were looking so good before. I'm only telling you because I care. BC was not Amy. BC had not spent years being slowly convinced that love came with conditions. She looked at him once long, clear, the way you look at something you have finally understood completely, and said, I deserve better than this. Then she left. Kofi was alone. He chased, of course. That is what men like Kofi do. Different women, slim ones, gym ones, Instagram perfect ones. But shallow water never satisfies real thirst. There was always something not quite right, something missing, something that fell short of whatever image he was chasing. Because the emptiness was never in the women. It was in him. One Saturday afternoon, Amy and Toby were at the Palms in Lekki, arguing, as they often did, about something completely unimportant. Toby believed cinema popcorn was one of life's great pleasures. Amy believed cinema popcorn was a betrayal dressed up in a striped box. They were deep in this debate, hands linked, when Amy heard her name. She turned. Kofi. He looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep, carrying something behind his eyes that no gym could fix, no slim girlfriend could cure. He looked at Amy. He looked at Toby. He looked at their linked hands and the easy way they stood together, comfortable, complete, like two people who had built something real. He swallowed. Amy, you look happy. I am, she said. No performance, just truth. He nodded slowly. Then he looked at Toby, and something in him seemed to finally, painfully understand what he had thrown away. Take care of her, he said quietly. She's special. Toby looked at Amy first, then back at Kofi. His voice was calm and certain. I know. That's why I'll never take her for granted. Kofi walked away. Amy watched him go. Not with triumph, not with pity, with the quiet peace of a woman who had graduated from a lesson she never asked to learn. That night, she sat in front of her ring light, pressed record, and spoke directly into the camera. To every woman who has been told she is too much, or not enough, or the wrong size for someone's version of love, I need you to hear me. I lost 30 kilograms, and I want to be completely honest with you. It did not fix everything. It did not give back the years I spent apologizing for my body. It did not undo the nights I spent on the bathroom floor. What saved me was not the weight loss. What saved me was the morning I looked in the mirror and decided I was worth saving. Change for you, heal for you, rise for you. The man who leaves you at your lowest does not deserve you at your highest. And if he only returns because you got smaller, he is still not seeing you. He is seeing a body. You are not a body. You are a whole, irreplaceable, extraordinary person. She paused. Let that land. You are enough, right now, exactly as you are. She stopped the recording. Toby knocked softly on the door, leaned against the frame, arms folded, warm eyes watching her. Done? Done, she said. He smiled. Egusi is ready. She laughed full and free, head back, no apology in it anywhere, and followed him to the kitchen. And so Amy learned, and the world learned with her. Never lose yourself trying to keep someone who doesn't value you. Your body will change throughout your life, through pregnancy, through age, through stress, through illness, through every season a real life brings. The right person will love you at your heaviest and celebrate you at your lightest. The wrong person will always find something wrong because the problem was never your body. It was never you. It was them. Love yourself first. Everything else will follow.